Okay, welcome to my talk about the VFX terminal interface, which I accidentally wrote. And oh, here comes my co-managing director with Coke. Thank you very much for that. Other languages exist besides Force. Some of us might be frightened now, but that's perfectly fine. And they all have their uses. And I actually do make money and do like to use other languages as well as Force. I just enjoy doing Force as much as you do. But we have to look what the others are doing so we can catch up and so we can motivate young people to use it. And they just expect certain things. Maybe they are intrigued with the simplicity of what we offer, like Damiano is, thankfully. But some demand more, and rightfully so, I think. So what do they have? They have Visual Studio Code, which for random reasons became the de facto integrated development environment for a lot of people. It's free, it's open source, although it's made by Microsoft, and it offers some necessities and features which make it easier to write code and so. I don't use that one. Right. Thank you. Don't worry. Okay, then what do other languages also have? They have the REPL, which is read, evaluate, print, and loop. Essentially the same thing that we are doing, right? But we are doing it better, of course, we know that. But I'm just saying other people also know that you can type something, hit enter, and something comes out. And then there's some other fancy stuff like notebooks. Maybe some of you know MATLAB, or no, not MATLAB is not the best example. I would argue Mathematica is a good example of nice notebooks, but there are also notebooks for Python. Those of you who have never seen it, what I mean is it's like a website, and you type a Python command, and you hit enter, and then it does not only give you the output back, but maybe also some graphics and stuff like this. And that's what I tried to implement. However, I then found out that there are certain things missing further down below, and I was digging deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and here we are in this talk. And actually, what motivated me a lot was Anton's talk about the GeForce IDE. Because I never thought of Force being an IDE, but he's actually correct, because in Force itself, you can do IDE-like things. And yeah, let's find out what they are, I would argue. So, in the beginning, there was, okay, so this is basically what we have with the REPL, okay? You just execute whatever you have, and then you have, okay, that's already some kind of positive feedback. Some systems don't offer that, but I would argue a prompt is rather basic. However, I wanted to mention it, that there's a prompt which assures you and pats you on the shoulder. Everything is going to be okay soon. And there was also some other basic inspection added. You don't want to memorize what's on the stack. There is .s, and .s is actually an inspection of the stack, which is non-trivial in other languages maybe, right? And we have it there. And if we want to inspect the heap, then we have the dump command, for example. So I'm sure I've not impressed anybody, but what I wanted to point out that there is some more IDE development, some more IDE related things already in Force. Right, now we are on the third slide. So now we come to the more interesting things, like what can we do with code now? Now, the most basic thing we can do is C. I think we all know that command, and mostly it just does stuff like disassembling, but sometimes on some systems it even tries to go further. If you look at GeForce, it gives you normally nearly the source code again, because it decompiles so heavily. But it's also common to just see assembler listings for C. Then SwiftForce, I think, was the first one to introduce some other words, which we are now all copying, which are locate, which shows you the source code, the real one of a word. And then we also want to say, okay, now we see it, but I would like to edit that. But that word that we have just seen. So now we are really getting into an IDE environment, because I can now just, if you look at Visual Studio, you would just right-click and go to definition, and we just say edit foobar, and we jump to the definition, and we can edit it. And the last word that is now used is where, or maybe it's called xref, it depends on the system, but it's just where is it used. Let's just recapture that real quickly. We can do cdub, we get that, right? we can do locate. What did I had a good example for locate? Well, let's just be brave and use stub, which is not very smart. But yeah, okay, it is here. So we can see that a system looked up where actually is the source code. It gives you the source code up here. Source code on there? Yeah, okay, sorry. The source code is up there. It's macro expanded, but let's not worry about that right now. And then at the first line, you have the implementation, but as this is a cross compiler, it's not very helpful to see dupe implemented by dupe. But I think you get the idea. You can easily look up stuff. And if you have a better idea how to do it, you can also do edit dupe, and there you are, and you can just go ahead. Okay, so this is all not new stuff, and Anton has showed it being ported to GeForce, and now I'm showing it being ported to VFX. But I have to say that most of the work has already been done by Stephen before, so I'm not trying to claim anything here. Right. Yes, thank you very much for that. Okay. Let me just see. Then there is another thing that is, I think, very interesting that all of us have, but we still have different names for that. There was this word with two something, right? And then it's like, I think it's two the, and then it gives you all the words which have 2D in them, okay? Maybe it's more helpful if you know more about the word, like, is there something like brow? Oh yeah, browse, that's the word I was searching for, okay? So that's sim. In GeForce, it's called M-words. I'm sure there's something like this also. What, can you filter them? Okay, so words and then a filter. Right, so I'm just saying we all have that, but I was just, it's interesting to me that this is the one which is not standardized between the three of us at the moment right now. Okay. Not working here. Okay, yeah, it's undefined word, of course. Right, so then we come to the next thing that we really want, and that's actually, wonderful, juice of sugar. When we were at the Chaos Computer Congress in Leipzig for the first time, I was talking to Bernd, and he was weaponizing a laptop, which is never a good idea. So I was, hey Bernd, I've got an idea. And he was like, like that. So he was just implementing the idea I just had. So essentially what it was, we call it the smart.s. And what I asked him was, Bernd, I think it's so stupid that if I tick foobar, that it's just a number on the stack, because the system knows that it's the address of foobar or the execution token of foobar. And if there's a string on the stack, it's a string, we can check it. And if it's an address, we also know that. And now I also have to credit Bernd back because he did a very good implementation of it. And last time we were working on GeForce, we actually decided that we want to extend that. And in VFX, we're going to be trying to be somewhat compatible again, so we have some common ground for the smart-S. Now, how does that work? Let's just say we put 12 on the stack and hit enter, and you can now see the smart stack effect to the very right. So there's 12 on the stack, great, woo. But if I tick dupe, it gives me the recognized backtick dupe on the stack. And by the way, GeForce is doing the same. However, what GeForce is doing, just for sake of completeness, they have a status bar down here, where they just show the latest one. And I then, again, we try to top each other here. So I wanted to have the history right aligned for this system. But yeah, you can do whatever you want. I just thought it's cool because you can also do something like hello, world, right? And it will just put both of them on the stack, and you can see all of that. And it's not very hard to implement. I mean, yeah, we're not going to go through it now, but you can imagine what we are doing with a string, for example. In VFX, I'm very strict. I'm only printing ASCII strings. Bernd, of course, is much more involved in that, and he even scans for UTF-8 sequences, and he has lots of special cases. So he does the full-blown thing and really can show a lot of more strings. But that's already something that, for example, I always have to, hold on, just get rid of all of this stuff from the stack. What I always have to do is that I never know which one is rot and minus rot. And so with this, it just becomes easy. And, you know, you have your whole history on the stack. And yeah, so it's maybe also interesting for teaching. So that's smart stack, smart.s. Okay, and now we can inspect some more. We have some more necessities. And where do we go from now? And I'm not trying to implement stupidities, but I thought there was just something missing. Like I just said, what the heck was the rot stack effect? I always have to do this. So we wanted to have something better there. And I kept nagging Stephen. And he said, well, we got DocChain, so why don't you get DocChain to do that? And yeah, turned out it was not that easy. But essentially, we now have a new word, which is called DocWord. And what it does is it tells you how to use the word by actually locating it, checking for DocChain string. Then I also had to implement a VT100 personality. Personalities is what we call it when we output DocChain. So for those of you who don't know DocChain, I'll show it in a moment, but it's formatted comments, right? Like DoxyChain is one of them, JavaDoc, or there's lots of them around. And we have a new personality and output that is VT100. So now I can do something like, what actually does doc do? Aha, it parses a name and it displays it in the terminal. Okay, what does dupe does? Dupe do. And I think you know where I'm getting this, because I can now finally do doc rot and I don't have to look it up. And I'm so happy about that. And I even get the description down here. And yes, this is full DocChain, and this is, you have just seen that I actually showed you some slides and I actually used them using DocChain. So the only thing that the words themselves do is that they clear the screen and then they call DocChain on their own name. Okay, so I'm not sure I'm going to be having every presentation in Forth itself, but after reading Glyn's talk, I just thought, okay, I have to be now in system all the time. So we just vibe together somehow. I don't know. Okay, so this is what doc does, and we also have funny things like doc test, which actually goes through all the features, and I'm just going to scroll up there. So, oh no, hold on, I have to go to the very right because that's your screen. Yes, and now I can scroll up. Yeah. So you can see we have sections, subsections, subtitles, simple headings, fonts. Oh, and yeah, we also have links. So we don't have pictures in the terminal right now, but that's the next thing I want to get working, so we can have some graphs for output. But right now it just gives you a link, and it would open the default browser and show you the picture now, and same is here. So I just went wild and implemented. Yes, you can, I think you can see it here. And even gives you a different address. It's a bit complicated. I'll answer your question in a second. So the question from Anton was, is it a VT100 feature? And we're going to look this at the very end. So the short answer is no, but as always. So now we got doc and all of this, and I think I already showed it, but once more for those who don't know it. Now, if you want to do all of this at once, you use the browse command, and it works like, now I know that your words work like that, and I think it's just brilliant because with browse, oh, I don't have to remember what browse does. I can just type doc browse. And so it can parse a name optionally and use it as a filter, and then it will display something. And browse is just using all the features there are in VT100. And what you have now is you have a list up there of all the words that match the description. And if I go down, for example, you can see, so it's concealed text, and you can see the definition. And by the way, you can also see the DocChain. So *G, for example, generates a glossary entry. Okay. And yeah, so you can very quickly navigate the code. And now that we have doc, of course, I also want to swap between locate and dock, because now I think that locate is inferior, but only for quickly looking up the word, because it will just give you a lot of source code. And really, what I value, why I wanted the whole thing, I don't like context switching. So I'm not very fond of browse. I think it has its usages. If you have no idea what the word is called and how it works. But I like it much better if I can do something like doc tube and doc rod, and then, okay, these are the words I want to use, and while I'm typing my command, I can still see them. Okay, so this is what I think is more of an integrated development environment again. Right. So there was browse. Yeah, I also already showed you the history to the right with the smart.s. So this is just something that's what GeForce and also SeedForce I have to credit as well, because they were the first one to actually integrate the status bar, I believe. And it jumps down to the very bottom and then it displays it. And yeah, maybe I can just show it for a moment. So if you open GeForce, you have the bar down there, and then you can do it's somewhat similar. I think it's a bit more bloated, but again, it gives you other features. So we decided for the history one, and of course, we also had stuff like, what if the line gets too long? Now let's not crash the system. Yes, so it also does auto. It tries to automatically adjust the rest of the line, not to get too bloated. Right. So, okay. And now I would like to show you how this is actually done, and maybe also. Sorry, come again? You mean in the terminal? Well, thank you very much for asking that, because I was explicitly trying to evade that question. So the question was, if I type something like colon, or let's just two drop it really quickly. It's a very good question. So the question was, if I do something like foobar, and it does something, right? And I now have foobar is super good. And then that's it, right? And now I do doc foobar. I hope it doesn't crash, but we will see. I'm brave. Yeah, it says not found. Because I was thinking a lot about that. And you would have, currently, DocGen wants to work on files. And the history is not, it's in parsing mode force now. And I gave it some thought, and I think it's more of a fun thing to have, but not very useful. Because normally how you use force, or how I think most people use force, is they have the source code and they edit it and they change something, and then they do the debugging and using. And yes, it can get convoluted, but you're normally not documenting your debugging so good. And then when you got your words, then you put them over into your editor, and then yeah. So yeah. Yes, that's the one thing, but then I looked at GenIO and how many hooks we would have to set up, because we support so many. So I'm intrigued by the idea, but I'm not going to jump on it, because I don't think it flies at the moment, right? So it's more like if you would be using something like one of Glynforce's, which are very basic, and I guess they will get just piped in their own source code at the beginning, yeah, then I think I would want that feature, okay? But if it's a system which deals with files, I think you don't need it. Yeah, you have to refactor. Actually, I tried it just before the conference a few days. I was like, it would be a really good demo to have that working, but Unit's live. Okay, so let me just show you that maybe, because it's, oh no, let's make it even more interesting. Edit slide. It's already opened, I know that. What? Now I'm having the same problem like in clean edit anyway. Okay, here we are at slide, right? And now I'm going to add a new word called proof. And I don't know, it doesn't have to do anything. And let's just have a title. This is live. What? Come again? That's fine? Okay. Or you want something else to believe me? But I guess that's okay. And then save it and buy. And of course I have to now run it again. And I have to include it again, right? But now if I do, what was it called again? Oh, I forgot the name. No, I forgot the name I said. Simproof. Ah, it's proof. Wonderful. So doc proof. There it is. So it really does that. What it does, it does locate, takes the text, puts it into buffer, writes it in a temporary file, starts docgen, loads the VT100 personality. It's loaded after the first one. So this was the slow variant right now. So it's really, really, really fast. And the whole idea was, I told you I was trying to make an HTML5 interface. And of course, we would just switch the personality to HTML5. And let me just see if I can show this to you real quickly. Oh, of course, the touchscreen doesn't work when the other screen is loaded as well. /force, VFX, source, lib, terminal. And we want to edit, I think it was doc. And what was it called? The personality person. Okay, here's the command, for example. Now I have to go to 9. Assign docgen HTML to doc personality. And that's wrong. Oh, no. Oh, sorry about that. That was very bad. Let me try again. Assign docgen HTML to do doc personality. And now let's type it again without hitting random keys. Personality. Right. And now we do doc proof. And we pretend that it worked. That's because it's live. That's I was desperately making it live so I can see if it fails. And then what? Yeah, but I have to put it into some deferred word because I'm doing some very weird shit with this. So yeah. So I'm sure I can find the error. I would like to show you some source code now. I hope you will believe me, but sure. You mean this one then, where you just do something like BR and then just search for it, or? Okay. It's more like this, like SimBR. Similar. Again, it's a very old word, and that's also why it's doc and not documentation. And yeah, it's all so. Simis? Yes, it's M words in GForce because there it means match words, which is also not very obvious, but it's what Martin called it, and we wanted to credit him, so it's fine. But Martin words, yeah, I always think of that like it exactly. Because he was like, I would really like to have that, and we just pointed him out, and he was doing it. Apropos is also very nice. Yes. Okay, and now just to show you for the end, I just wanted to show you. You can, for example, also do something like -1 italic text, Yes, dot quote Italy in italic, hopefully. Yeah, there you go. And you can also do italic text. So if those of you who've now to answer the question from Anton before, is it VT100? Well, oh, by the way, François, there we are using your shift operators because I had issues. So yeah, I would like to have to standardize. Anyway, when you want to do VT100, it's actually rather easy to start with. So you start by outputting escape sequences. So that means you write escape and then you write something else afterwards. And then they have some funny names like they call it CSI, with like a control user or the device control string. So I was just using the terminology from the terminals there. But you can also add parameters. And what I find are so I just told you how italic works. Let's just see italic. So here it just does a toggle label SGR, whatever that is. Again, it's very force wordish. It's just very small words. So SGR does something which you can turn on and off. And now here comes the thing. I then went, you can also set the window title, for example, of the current window. And I believe when you run browse, it says something up there, but I'm not sure anymore. And not only that, but you can also get the size. And this is a bit more tricky what you do there actually, because you are calling cursor safe, and you set the cursor at a position that can never be. So let's hope people are not using, I don't know, 512K screen and decide to have it in the original font, because then you maybe run out of characters. But 999 just moves the cursor to the very bottom right. Then you ask the position. It's funny what you do, because how do you ask a terminal for the position? Well, you send the escape sequence, and the terminal will type that back to you. Okay, so once you've received that, you then parse all of this, and then it becomes a bit weird, because we also have added support for 24-bit colors, so we can properly render all of the stuff. And the URL, I think it's further below. In a second, just to show Anton this one here. So I think this is how href is implemented, and I believe right now it only works on GNOME terminal, but it's not breaking the other terminals. I think it just displays the link a bit weird, but it's not like something is happening. So terminals are very forgiving with escape sequences. François, I wanted to see the italic, sure. Okay. Well, it just went out again, right? If we go back and just look, what's happening here is that here it starts executing. Hit enter. So what it does now is it says -1 italic text, so it enables the italic mode of the terminal, and then it stays in it. And after OK, here is a escape sequence which says, please reset all that I've done. And then it says, please continue in bold, because maybe you've noticed the input is always bold. I always wanted colored input in GeForce, but then Bernd had the brilliant idea of just making it bold, which works with all the colors, and that's very easy to read because you can immediately see the commands that you've entered. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for that. So Clint just pointed out the VT100 codes are actually the very basic codes at the top, and then there are the ANSI codes, and then there are the specific codes for the X terminals, and then there are the very specific codes for the GNOME terminal that I'm using right now. And you know why? Because all of the Unix tools have added colors and all of this stuff recently, and Microsoft doesn't want to be on the back burner with that. So they are making CMD something you can actually use. And I wouldn't be surprised if they actually would be the next ones to implement stuff like hyperlink refs and, just be the coolest terminal like they were trying with VS Code. And I think there's even a CMD version for Linux now, or was it a PowerShell? And does PowerShell also do VT100? Okay, So the question is, why didn't I choose to implement this as an extension to VS Code? And actually, that's something I also maybe plan to do in the future. Because as long as customers are asking for extensions to VS Code, I assume that they are going to be using it. And if people are asking me for extensions to Eclipse, I'm assuming that they are just going to be not around for much longer. But yeah, for VS Code, you have to implement the language server, and it's a bit more involved, and you have the same issues. Remember, we are doing an HTML5 interface right here, and I was just refactoring stuff in the kernel without destroying it. And it's a delicate process. And now I have the functionality in there, and I can now say, okay, now I can do a language server more easily. But if you don't have an easy way to read the documentation, I wouldn't know where to put it. And now for Visual Studio Code, I can send them very cool HTML, properly formatted, because the blockchain personality can do that as an hover text when it decides to query that. So it's an incremental process, and I just felt that this is the first station. We have, but Help currently does something different. Help actually opens the PDF on the correct page, which I feel it just kind of breaks the flow, because again, I was inspired by Anton's idea of integrating everything. And Stephen was saying he likes to use it. And when you look at how Stephen has it, he has the PDF open to the right, and he types help blah, and it just scrolls there, which is a cool functionality. You see, no, just look, locate. So, okay, that's not helping. Locate, where is? So there you go, it's not very hard. Given the xt of a word, this will return the file name string, the line number, and true for the definition. And if you look at what it does, actually, it reads from a struct where it's defined at. Okay, but you have to know that VFX has a xref system, which is rather complicated, and I don't want to get into this right now, which can do much more. Okay, so you can do crazy things with that. And it's Varys is just using it. So what Stephen had the xref system for 15 years, 20 years. And then when people were getting excited about Leon's locate, he just said, okay, that's how I would do it. I think maybe even earlier would have been Wolf's system. What was it called again? Hold on forth. It's database driven. It's very beautiful, and you can also connect to it. And yeah. But yeah, I'm sure. I think this is a community effort. Leon has contributed something. It was the spark, and Anton jumped over, and there was Bernd and Stephen. And then Uli just came with the status line, and I was like, I want to have something cooler than a status line. I think a history is cool. I don't know, maybe it's not, right? Now, yeah, we'll see. Yes. So I was just, I think maybe you were out of the room yesterday, but I was just discussing this with Stephen. I'm really wondering with all of the system vendors how we should do this, because I think Peter's approach, as also Clearness used it, is very beautiful to just run the test case, but I actually want the test cases just below the word where they are defined. But I don't think they should be, I think you always have the testing on, so you can always interpret them. And at VFX, we currently think we want to skip them and enable them somehow, because we cannot run the test cases if we compile William source code. It will make it a lot slower, and we don't want that. So it has to be, but it should be like a docgen comment. Just the system should just not care. And if you say plus test, then it should care. But I also want stricter integration. Yeah. But that's the difference is that VFX is generally asking always for input. Like when you do words, it will say, do you want to see more and more and more? I don't like that a lot. But that's how it's built. And also if you crash, it will show you this. And then you can scroll up and get, oh yeah, there is the return stack, yeah. And then you can just say continue, and it will try to go on, right? No, absolutely not. This is, you wouldn't believe how stupidly this is implemented. Really, so the one from GeForce is super smart. Ours is desperately stupid. It is something like, okay, there's an address on the stack. Is this an XT of something? right? And yes, it is. Okay, let's put a backtick in front of it and pretend it's there. And it's doing, again, it's really basic. It's not a type checker. Absolutely not. It's more like, for example, uh, again, I also think we should always copy from each other a bit. What does the other guy do? So I was always also wondering about addresses. So what Bernd has done, for example, you can do create foo. Oh no, no, that's a stupid idea. Um, uh, Variable blah. Then you put blah on the stack. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Again, well, I'm always very brave with my stuff because I demo the stuff I just edited the other night. So, what I wanted to show you right now, I'm not sure why maybe when I do s hello. Oh yeah, I can do that. Drop. Yeah, there you go. So now this is an address. You see, it's not just a number, and he does that by checking, is this number in the dictionary? And that actually I looked up what does Bernd do, because he was thinking about it a lot. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's the easiest. So edit punkt s. What do we do? S items. As I showed you, the code is really stupid. Yeah, we have other question. Now I'm gonna play. Oh yeah, it's doing the same. So yeah, that's also something I changed, Nick. You now have a version of silent catch. That's actually one I really, you don't see that now, but you're gonna love that one. Yeah, no matter what crap happens in there, it gets out. I was inspired by your crash never talk. This is just like, I know it will crash, but I just want to know, does it crash or not? I don't care about anything else. And that's what does that. But you cannot do this easily on a hosted system, because sometimes, it works most of the time, but yeah. And actually, this is a very simple implementation, and I wanted a silent catch for a while, so, Okay, anyway, thank you for your interest. I think we're going to end it right here.